try to take care of everybody and get things rolling. Yeah, if you look on to the right, Welling. Oh, you mean as far as scrolling down? Yeah. I know Tyler and Kathy. Yeah, we're good. So anyway, the meeting is called to order now, and we do have a quorum established. So at this time, we'll take a motion to approve the agenda for the day.
Welling Clark, motion to approve the agenda as submitted. El Paso County.
We may have to seek a second online today if you're paying attention, everyone.
Steve
Terry
Schleicher,
Storm.
second.
Schleicher, the guy we were just talking about. Thank you. Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? There are none, so we have an agenda. Okay, moving on. We need to approve the minutes from last meeting. If you've all had an opportunity to read those, I hope. And if so, I'll entertain a motion at this time.
Welling Clark, El Paso County, motion to approve the minutes as submitted.
And a second, if anyone's.
Kathy Heisey, Calhan, I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any additional comments, questions? Hearing none, we do have the motion. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? There are none. So we have, moving on here, Jared, did we have any comments sent in to you that you're aware of?
So, Mr. Chair, I'll ask anyone who's online to please use the raise hand function to let us know they'd like to provide public comment at this time. Anyone in the room can go to the podium at this time as well. I'll just let the committee know that we did not receive any advance requests for public comment, and we did not receive any written public comment that we would distribute it to the committee members in advance of this meeting. Having said all that, I see no hands raised online. I see no one at the podium. So I think, Mr. Chair, we can proceed to the next item at your discretion.
Okay, and it's a bifocal moment, everyone. I apologize, but I believe we're looking at Jason coming up next.
This could be a quick item, but it doesn't have to be if everybody has questions.
Certainly.
But I'll just get right into it. It's something you've seen before. So Complete Streets Toolbox has a final draft. Just for some reference, the Complete Streets Toolkit was developed for a couple of reasons. First, to help comply with the funding requirements for the Federal Infrastructure and Jobs Act. A certain amount of money has to be spent on complete streets projects. Second, to be a resource for our member governments who may have goals that are aligned with complete streets concepts, just to be helpful to them. So this is a completely voluntary resource and guidance document for communities to use at their discretion. Unlike some of PPACG's planning products, it's not a plan and doesn't have a project list or budget. So work began early this year with hiring Olson to lead the project. We think they conducted a good process. The stakeholder process in particular was quite robust, especially for a smaller project. So they did a very good job on that. The toolkit was done in consultation with all of the PPACG member governments in order to align it with their needs and their local context. So we got a lot of great interest and participation. So thanks to everybody who was part of that. The toolkit isn't designed to sell complete streets philosophically, but is just more of a best practices resource guide for those who already have an idea of the direction they want to go. The project has been to the CAC before as an information item in September. It's been seen by the TAC multiple times, and as of earlier this month, it now has the formal recommendation of the TAC. It's been in front of the PPACG board for comment and guidance. As of now, all the comments received have been incorporated, and there are no outstanding unresolved issues with the final draft that we're aware of. So it's a clean product as far as that. There have been no substantive changes since the document was reviewed by this group in September, mostly just minor corrections. So today we would like to ask for the CAC's formal recommendation for approval by the PPACG board next month. And again, to be clear, we will not be asking for the board, we're not be asking the board for the kind of adoption that would make this toolkit into regional policy, but rather only for approval of the toolkit as an acceptable resource for those member governments who may choose to use it. So to break that down a little more, the recommendation would be for acceptance rather than adoption. So with that, we are requesting the CAC's recommendation at this time, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Anyone online have any questions, comments?
Mr. Chair, we can just go in order of the hands raised. We'll start with Kathy Heisey and then
Okay.
go to Steve Schleicher.
Okay.
Thank you, Kathy Heisey Callahan. I just have a formatting thing that I noticed on page 10 under the stakeholder committee list. Your town of Green Mountain Falls rolls over to the next line and prefaces Cindy Tompkins, towns of Rama and Callahan. That rolls into the next line in front of Dan Ungerleader, town of Monument. So you might maybe take a look at that. I don't know if you can see that where you're at, but that was my only thing that I noticed on that.
Okay, thanks. I don't see it right now, but we'll make sure to go in and take a look at that and fix it.
Is that all you have, Kathy?
Yes.
Okay,
Appreciate it.
thank you. Steve?
Yeah, so Mr. Chair, I just have a comment and then a question. So, hey, Jason, I really appreciate that the toolbox explicitly clarifies that complete streets are not about doing everything everywhere, as stated on page 7. So the guidance emphasizes making tailored decisions based on the local needs, land use, and right-of-way constraints. So this is particularly important for our smaller towns, as we all know. But the question I do have is, how will this toolbox be maintained or updated as new federal guidance emerges? So I think this may be important over time, given the FAWA and the FAST Act and the IIJA updates. So what is the plan, Jason, as far as updating, basically as that comes from the federal government?
It's a good question. There's no specific provision in our funding anyway to do any kind of regular update or maintenance on this. It's just sort of a one-off. But now that we have it, I think we will probably do an update at some point. PPACG does run in cycles. Generally, for our major planning projects, our TIP and our long-range plan of 4 or 5 years. So we tend to kind of look at things again on roughly that cycle. And lately we haven't maintained anything much older than that without giving it an update. So hopefully that's enough of an answer. You never know what new funding will come up. But as of now, there's no specific plan to make an update. Like I said, someone will probably get back into it within the next 4 or 5 years, just because we update most things on that schedule.
Awesome. Thanks, Guy.
Thank you.
Is that all you need, Steve?
Perfect. I'm good, Mr.
Okay.
Chair.
Okay, thank you. Welling?
Welling Clark, El Paso County. This is more of a question. I was reading the objectives and all, and there's 5 major objectives. One of them was safety, and it cited pedestrian and bicycles. And then also I saw in there it cited emergency vehicle or response times, which I know is normal. One thing, and this is more of an information question. I think what's being presented is an excellent toolbox and a document, and hopefully of help, is who or what would address emergency situations from the standpoint of streets. I mean, things above and beyond what is normal incidents and accidents and events within the city. And where I'm going with that is about 6-7 years ago, we had an accident on I-25 that blocked I-25 north and south. And everybody flooded into Rock Rimmon and Garden of the Gods for coming southbound. And then going northbound, they flooded into downtown in Uinta, and all the streets were backed up for about 2 hours. I don't know, does this do that? Who would do that? And then also from the standpoint, there's a couple of entities out there that are very hot on emergency evacuation response or back times and things like that. Is that being looked at to go into this document? Because not only for fire, but for hazmat, if there's an evacuation of an area, or is that covered by something else? I like the document. I'm going to definitely vote for it. I'm just curious. It looked like that was lacking. And how do we handle those large scale emergency events?
That's a really good question. I'll probably answer in two parts. There's a little bit of crossover with that and complete streets. So just giving an example, just sort of anecdotally, one of the things, you know, the complete streets usually recommends is having shoulders, for example, on rural roads. And those are facilities that can double as emergency routes for emergency vehicles to get through. So it generally makes some provision for a little extra space, whether it's for bicyclists or pedestrians, but there are, and there's a project out of the Tri-County study that I think now the county is moving forward with up in Park County, where there's basically a bicycle facility next to 24 that would double as an emergency evacuation route. So there are instances of that around, although it's usually not an intrinsic part of complete streets as such.
Thank you. I want to cite what you mentioned was done on 30th Street. It was widened, and there are easements or whatever they call those on the side. They're bicycle lanes right now. Those for emergency vehicles. That was an example of Waldo Canyon fire. And kind of going after Mr. Schleicher about government with things coming down the pike with the state trying to include densification. I don't know how one includes that when you don't know what's going to happen in the future, but is that something that's being looked at because the state legislation is pushing densification, and that can cause impacts on traffic that is designed for a lower densification? Over.
Yeah, it can. And I mean, in a complete streets context, it would basically just change what a complete street would look like. But that's if it's planned densification, or if the complete streets projects are happening after the fact, it would just sort of change what a complete street would look like. So a rural complete street might just look like a 2-lane highway with shoulders, whereas a more urban densified complete street would look a little different. It might have protected lanes or something like that. So it would just sort of change what the complete street looked like. Thank you. Yeah, good questions.
Is that everything, Willie? Okay, just want to make sure you had all the opportunity. Okay, I'm not seeing anyone else online, so at this point, we'd entertain a motion for recommendation to the board.
Willing Clark, El Paso County, motion to approve as submitted.
And a second.
Chuck Theobald, City
yes,
of Colorado
right.
Springs. Move to second.
Okay, thank you, Chuck. Okay, we've had a motion and a second. Any further discussion, comments, questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 And any opposed? There are none. Thank you, Jason.
Thank you very much.
Very good. I'll let my schedule update here, so looks like we have Angie coming up with the lift station. And is she online? Okay. Angie, if you
everyone.
could. Okay, you're there. Okay. It's turned over to you, Angie. I'm sorry.
For not being, sorry for not being there in person. But I am here online. So we have the Waterbury lift station application here. The application was reviewed by Lower Fountain Water Quality Management Association and recommended for review by the Water Quality Committee. By the SARC. The SARC also reviewed the application, and the Water Quality Management Committee has reviewed the application, and all groups have recommended it to this point, so that's why it is here in front of you. There's been no major questions, or at least no remaining questions. All of the questions brought up have been addressed by the applicant, so we think it's in pretty good shape. And the applicant is here online. I'll let him present the application and answer any questions you have.
Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Peter Clarkson from RESPEC. I'm gonna go ahead and steal the screen. So I'm gonna be presenting the site location application for the Waterbury lift station today on behalf of the Waterbury Metropolitan District Number 1. There was a recent name change, and the district used to be known as the Four-Way Ranch Metropolitan District Number 2. So if you hear either name, they are referring to the same district. And I'm also here with a colleague, James Starnes from RESPEC. So the applicant is a company called ACM ALF 8 JV Sub 2 LLC on behalf of the Waterbury Metropolitan District Number 1. It is for a lift station to serve a residential development. The area is zoned for planned unit development, and it will include 1,350 single-family units at full build-out. The development will have a gravity wastewater collection system that will lead to this lift station, where the wastewater will be pumped through a force main to the Woodman Hills Metropolitan District Regional Water Reclamation Facility. Here's a general service. Sorry, I forgot to mention on the right, we have a schematic of the approximate location of the development. So here's a schematic of the service area for the proposed lift station in green. The area in brown has septic systems, so they will not be served by this lift station. And if we zoom out a little bit, we can see the full force main along Stapleton Drive. It's going to be about 2 miles long to the Woodman Hills Regional Water Reclamation Facility. So the development is planned to be built out within the next 7 to 10 years, and the projected service area population is going to be about 3,500 people. We use some regional user characteristics for wastewater loading to develop projected loading to this lift station. And as mentioned before, the wastewater is going to be pumped to the Woodman Hills Regional Water Reclamation Facility. The permitted capacity is 1.3 million gallons per day. Right now, it is at about 71% of its hydraulic capacity and 55% of its organic capacity. This project at full build out would bring the hydraulic capacity to around 89% and the organic loading to about 70%, but it should be noted that Woodman Hills is currently in the process of expanding the plant's capacity, and it will be completed before the build out of this development. So the lift station is going to have a dry well, wet well configuration with duplex pumps. 3-phase power will be available to the site, as well as more than 3 hours of emergency storage and backup power on site. The lift station will be fenced in. It'll feature SCADA control and telemetry communication. There will be odor control and corrosion control in the form of a chemical called bioxide, which is dosed into the lift station. And the wet well will be controlled by an ultrasonic level sensor with some float level sensors as backup alarms. We collected some geotechnical data around the lift station site. We did encounter groundwater at a pretty shallow depth, but that was taken into account in the design. Right now, the company I mentioned, the applicant ACM ALF 8 JV Sub 2 LLC, owns the land which the proposed lift station will be on. Waterbury Metropolitan District will assume financial responsibility for the construction of the proposed lift station, but upon completion of the construction, the land will be dedicated to Woodman Hills Metropolitan District, and the lift station is outside of the designated 100-year floodplain. So as far as the operation and maintenance goes, like I mentioned, upon completion of construction, the land will be dedicated to Woodman Hills Metropolitan District. They will be the long-term owner and operator of the lift station. They will maintain the facility as part of their overall service area, and they'll pay for operation and maintenance costs through the sewer rates. There are also some contingency operations built into the lift station, including the duplex pumps, reliable 3-phase power, more than 3 hours of emergency storage, a on-site backup generator in the case of a power outage, a backup pump quick disconnect for emergency pumping. So this allows a trailer mounted pump to pull up to the facility and pump into the force main if necessary. And then it will also have that SCADA control with telemetry communication. And here's our implementation schedule. We are hoping to begin construction in the summer of 2026. Does anybody have any questions?
Steve?
Yeah, so Peter, I really appreciate you guys recognizing the long-term ownership and the planning with Woodman Hills Metropolitan District.
Yep.
So, you know, really taking a look at that, I feel it really provides confidence that downstream capacity will match the growth of this development. The other thing I appreciate is the consideration of the growth and the phasing. We're looking at 7 to 10 years, as you just mentioned, is my thought is giving, this gives receiving facilities, you know, Woodman Hills, adequate time to scale appropriately and supports responsible planning for the
Yeah.
Falcon growth area. But one thing is, I heard you say this, but one of the questions I have, Peter, is have you guys provided anticipated dates for when the Woodman Hills facilities expanded capacity will be certified? I know you were talking about when things are going to be turned over, but you know, do you guys have an anticipated date of when it's going to be certified to ensure alignment with build out timelines that you just highlighted?
Yeah, I think James Starnes is going to speak up on this one, if you would like to, James.
Hi, is it Steve?
Yeah,
Can you all
James, Steve Schleicher.
I was mostly hoping you could hear me, confirm that you can hear me. Yeah, my understanding is the site location for that lift station, or for that expansion, is anticipated sometime in 2026, 2027. I don't know if we've got a representative from Woodman Hills here, but our understanding is that is likely to be before 2030. So that's at least my understanding.
Okay, thanks, James.
Is that all you need, Steve?
I'm good, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? And Welling and I are in the room, and Welling smiling, so I guess we're good. So at this time, we'll entertain a motion to recommend this to the board.
Mr. Chair, this is Steve Schleicher. I so make the motion to move it on to the board.
Okay, thank you, Steve. And a second.
Kathy Heisey Callahan, I'll second.
And thank you, Kathy. Any further discussion, questions? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, thank you. And it's moved on to the board.
Thank you.
Okay, and let's see, our next one up, Lower Fountain Creek. Which one are we at? Who is actually presenting this one? I'm sorry, I didn't bring my notes with me. Do you know, Jared?
That should be Rachel, and she's online.
Oh, okay,
Yep.
okay.
Hi there.
Yeah, I
Rachel
didn't have my
Keatley,
notes
HDR.
with me.
No
Okay,
worries.
yeah, Rachel, if you're online, please proceed.
Sure. I'll go ahead and share my screen. All right. Should be showing now. Thanks all for listening in on our Northern Monument Creek Interceptor and Middle Tributary Lift Station Interceptor Connection Project with Colorado Springs Utilities. I'm Rachel Keatley from HDR Engineering, filling in for Steve Poole today. General project overview. Our project is a large diameter sewer pipeline, shown in pink on the screen here. Will be largely on the United States Air Force Academy property outlined in purple on the map shown on the screen. We'll be connecting to a connection point at the north end at a shared line between Triview and Forest Lakes Metro districts. And then at the south end, we'll be tying into a connection point that connects to the rest of the Colorado Springs Utilities collection system. Ultimately, those flows travel down to the J.D. Phillips Water Resource Recovery Facility further south on the screen. The ultimate goal of this project is consolidation of treatment between multiple entities and the elimination of multiple lift stations in the area. So day one, we'll be creating a connection, a gravity lateral connection from the middle tributary lift station across I-25, and then tying it into the NMCI pipeline where flows will be transferred over from day one. long term, we're looking to do a similar connection pattern with multiple other lift stations that are aging out and will need upgrades soon. The main benefit of this project is converting a bunch of pumped flow to gravity flow. Quick note on design permitting. So in tandem with this 208 review process, we've been going through the CDPHE site location application process. In terms of control of site, we're kind of dealing with three main entities. We have Falcon Commerce Center on the north end where we're connecting, and then USAFA as well as City of Colorado Springs. We have letters of support and we're working on easements for both Falcon Commerce Center and USAFA itself. And then we're working on similar documentation with City of Colorado Springs. We don't anticipate much pushback there as the city and Colorado Springs utilities work pretty closely together, but just need to get that kind of formalized. We've gone through some extensive environmental permitting as well, doing the National Environmental Policy Act, NEPA, which was completed in 2024, and then wrapping up the Army Corps 404 permit in spring of 2026. In addition to that, we've been doing extensive coordination with El Paso County relating to the Santa Fe Regional Trail that runs parallel to part of our alignment through USAFA as well. I won't dive into all the specifics of this slide, but essentially on the right is a service area map with all of the areas that will be serviced by this interceptor in red. One thing to point out is that we are accounting for flows from the United States Air Force Academy in our design. However, they aren't opted into the project quite yet. They were the lead permitting agency on our NEPA permit, which I had mentioned previously. So it would be seen as a conflict of interest for them to both approve the permitting and opt in at this time. And then some of the finer project details. NMCI, the main pipeline itself, will be 8.5 miles of 30-inch pipe. And then the mid-trip lateral connection, that kind of finger that I pointed out across I-25, will be 1,300 feet of 12-inch pipe. Rough schedule, we completed 90% design recently, and we're marching towards construction drawings in March of 2026. Planning for construction to mobilize a couple months after that, and an anticipated duration of 2 years. Justin, do you have anything to add or any questions from the group?
Rachel, my name is Justin. I go with Colorado Springs Utilities for the folks in the room.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And please let us know if you have any questions.
And I'm not seeing any questions online. Does anybody have any questions, comments, or? And I'll ask in the room since it's Welling and I. And I have none. Okay. All right. Are we looking for a motion to have this approved onto the board?
Yes, we are.
Okay. And at this time, we'll entertain a motion to recommend this to the board. Everybody
Kathy
heard
Heisey
online?
Callahan, I move we recommend approval.
Okay, and a second.
Steve
Mary
Schleicher,
Storm,
second.
Manitou Springs, second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Don't think we have any, but any additional comments, questions? Seeing or hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 And any opposed? Okay, that one's cleared to go to the board.
Great, thank you.
Okay, and now we're moving up for the previous action for the I believe the one that we had discussions on last month pretty extensively. How are we going to do that? Do we have any further comments from Council of Government on this? I know we have Mr. Dunstan in the room to answer questions.
Yes, I believe Angie's going to just provide the intro to this. And then
Okay,
pass
Angie.
it along.
Okay. Turn it over to you, Angie.
All right, so you all know that this has gone to the Water Quality Management Committee and the SARC back and forth a few times, and it was with the CAC last October 29th. at your last meeting where, yes, you did have some long discussions about it and some questions. And the CAC at that time voted to send the application back to the Water Quality Committee to either develop approval conditions or for the applicant to provide information to demonstrate a financial plan. So the Water Quality Committee heard the application on November 19th, and the applicant did not provide information to demonstrate their financial capability for long-term operations and maintenance. So the Water Quality Committee did propose two approval conditions, and those are outlined in your memo there. But in summary, the first approval condition is for the applicant to demonstrate all the necessary documentation as outlined in Regulation 22 to demonstrate their financial capacity to continue operating this plant. So those requirements are outlined in that regulation. We just summarized it here. And then for the other thing, for the other approval condition is that we'd like CDPHE to verify that the applicant has completed the sludge removal and cleanup is performed per CDPHE standards. To this point as well, the applicant still has not cleaned up the sludge. So that's where we've left the process on this application, and those are the approval conditions that the Water Quality Committee is suggesting to you all. And the applicant is in, it sounds like he's in the room, so
Yes.
I'll hand it over.
Where the speaker is, if you hit it, it should turn red.
Just one
Yeah.
time. Okay, am I on? Everyone hear me? Okay, yeah, thank you, Angie. Yeah, so I appreciate the opportunity to answer questions. So I guess you've all seen this application, so there's not much need to give a general outline, but simply what it is the Walden wastewater treatment system treats 385 houses. And it's been in operation since the early 60s. In 1986, they upgraded from a lagoon system to an SBR, sequential batch reactor. And to meet some of the increased health department requirements, it's necessary for us to upgrade the wastewater treatment plant to an MBR, membrane bioreactor. And so I appreciate the grace and understanding as we go through this process. It's kind of new to us, but I think we finally got to the point where we're getting the questions answered. In particular, at the CAC meeting, a couple questions. One is sludge removal. So we usually remove the sludge every 3 to 5 years, and the company that we used went out of business, and they've done a lot of the other small systems around too. So we've since started working with Terragenesis and have a contract with them to remove the sludge. As a new customer, they're requiring tests to be done, and we don't anticipate any problems. I asked what would likely be a problem if, why do you test it? What could be a problem? And they said, well, if you treat industrial stuff, there could be heavy metals in the sludge. So we don't anticipate that being a problem because the previous company had done testing. So they are scheduled early to mid part of January to have that testing done and to remove the sludge. Some other questions just from listening from the last CAC meeting is how will this be financed? And so since then, we've gotten a letter from the financial institution, a letter of approval. It's Integrity Bank and Trust will be providing the funding. There was also some questions about how do we know the funding will go toward the project. And I think that's addressed in the letter, essentially saying that the project is funded on a monthly draw basis. And so the bank has an inspector come out on a monthly basis to ensure that the work is being done. So it's kind of one of the unique situations that I suppose small systems face. And then the other one is just the financial viability of the utility provider. I mean, obviously this will be funded through the rate payers, but I talked with Jonathan Moore and asked him what he thought would suffice. And what he has suggested is we just put together a simple O&M sort of spreadsheet showing the costs. For the HDPE, for the subsequent, the CDPHE, did I get those initials wrong? CDPHE. So when we do that, one of the things that was discussed at the PPACG meeting this month was that the CDPHE has within their line items things to verify such stuff. And what we intend to do is give a little more in-depth cost analysis of exactly how this will be funded. But the bank has already done that, the lending institution, and they believe there's sufficient funds to be able to not only fund the system, but also the O&M moving forward. And so that should be good. We put together a spreadsheet that shows the present O&M, and everything is good there. There's also money in the bank. I think you guys have that on your file. There was a typo, which changed it. I think it was Roy that saw that. But it's 385 customers, not 285. So it fundamentally changed the numbers if one was to redo the math. But the math correlates to the 385 or however many it is customers. And so I believe we've answered the questions. I guess what I would say is I very much appreciate all the thoughtfulness. First time I've been through this type of boards or committees, and I definitely appreciate the different minds and the thoughtfulness that goes into the questions that are asked, and it's been helpful for us. So we appreciate it. I think we've addressed stuff, so would certainly welcome any questions that anyone may have.
Just have one quick question. You
Yes,
said
sir.
you had documents that you made available. Did those go to Angie?
Angie has them. Yeah.
Angie, okay.
It's 3 pages. One is just a letter from, actually, there's an email from Terra Genesis saying, sorry for the delay, and here's the invoice for removing this stuff for when you do it in January. The second one is a letter from the bank just verifying that the funding is in place to do the project. And then the third one is just a simple thing that Jonathan and I had discussed, and that is it's just a spreadsheet showing the present O&M costs, and obviously acknowledging the typo of 300, and it should be 385 versus 285. But yeah, so I think we're in good shape for the CDPHE. We intend to have a little more in depth per the PPACG's recommendation, and it was noted in the PPACG most recent meeting that that is something that they require, even though it's not necessarily always a point of emphasis for the PPACG. So I guess they put within the recommendation a condition moving forward stating that we would have that info. And so that's helpful as a precursor for the next, for the CDPHE. And so we appreciate that. And you guys have helped us a lot. Clark, Welling, I'm going to get these initials down one of these days. So I don't know if anyone had any more questions. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for that clarification.
Okay. Steve, I think you have a question.
Well, just not a question though, Mr. Chair, just a statement that I know we had a lot of debate going back and forth amongst us last month in regards to this project. And I do appreciate the applicant bringing forth these documents that, we were talking about. So all of my questions that I had, in our last meeting have been answered. So thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you, Steve. Anyone else online? Welling, did you have your light on?
Yes, sir. This is a question to Angie. Angie, after our last meeting, did the applicant contact you and provide you extra information?
Only the 3 documents that are in the document, which was that spreadsheet and an email from, yes, this one, that one,
Mm-hmm.
and this one. Yes.
Okay. And a question I do have is for PPACG, with the 2 conditions that were cited, and I'm not sure how those will be fulfilled because there's a time in the future when that's going to occur. But does this satisfy the concerns PPACG had last month going into this project?
Yes. So if short answer, yes, if CDPHE agrees to our approval conditions. So
Okay,
we will
thank
send
you.
these to CDPHE.
Okay, thank you. And then the only comment I have is I wish to thank the applicant for working with PPACG to resolve issues and concerns that were unanswered. And I just want to compliment, well, For number B, the sludge removal, I am very much aware of hazmat, EPA, and other requirements with regards to that, and the incredible speed of bureaucracy, sarcastically speaking. Okay, Glenn Clark, El Paso County. Don't tell the commissioners I said that. Over.
Thank you. Any other questions? Hearing none, I'll take a motion to recommend this.
Dwelling Clerk, El Paso County. I am pleased to make the motion to approve the application as submitted with the two conditions to be met.
Okay, do we have a second?
Kathy Heisey Callahan, I'll second.
Okay, motion and a second. Any additional comments, questions? Hearing none, all in favor to move this forward, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Thank you for coming.
Thanks very much. Will.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Will.
Now we get the lengthy part of the meeting. Yeah, go ahead and proceed.
Let's see if I can go as fast as I did last week or last month. I do have a presentation, Jared, if you could pull that up, but I'm here to talk about the FTA 5310 funding. This is the funding for enhancing mobility for older adults and individuals with disabilities. And I'm here to review and then recommend to the board for the release of public comment of the applicants and the funding amounts. So just an overview, this background, again, is for older adults and individuals with disabilities to close the gaps where paratransit and fixed route do not meet. So that is providing door-through-door services, extended hours, and extending the paratransit boundaries. We are the designated recipient of these FTA funds, and then we will give them out to the subrecipients. These funds are just for the Colorado Springs urbanized area. The funding is from January 1st, 2026 to December 31st, 2026, so all of next year. And then the funding did increase from our last session. It is upwards of $703,000. So what has happened so far? The application was open October 7th, and then it was closed on November 4th. And then the TRS, the Technical Review Subcommittee, met twice, the 10th and the 14th. And in those meetings, that's where they scored and reviewed the applicants. What was the scoring criteria? There was 6 subcategories: financial need, so just the need of the service providers, if they needed the funding; service justification, the need within the area, if the services provided was just needed within the area; coordination and effectiveness, how well the service provider worked with other service providers within the area or just other nonprofits and organizations within Colorado Springs; alignment, if how their work aligned with other PPACG documents, with our specialized human services plan; their budget review, overall just their budget; and then past performance with other PPACG grants and CDOT grants. And those were on a weighted basis. So the recommendation, well, first there was 3 applicants: Envita, Silver Key Senior Services, Special Kids, Special Families, and it was scoring out of 3. So the highest you can get was 3 points. Envita scored a 2.86, and Silver Key 2.83, and then Special Kids, Special Family 1.74. And then Silver Key and Envita asked for similar amounts, upwards of $460,000, $100,000, and $473,000. And Special Kids, Special Families asked for $150,000. So the recommendation was to fund the 2 highest scoring agencies, which was Envita and Silver Key Senior Services. And then Envita scored just a little bit higher just because they have a bigger range of services for their population. So they serve both older adults and individuals with disabilities. And then additionally, it was recommended to not fund Special Kids, Special Families because their lack of focus within their budget and their proposed services, and the members of the TRS just didn't have confidence that they could handle federal funds at this moment. And then finally, it was recommended that PPACG staff work with them to better equip them for future funding applications if they choose to. And then it was recommended to split the funding evenly between Invita and Silver Key because they ranked very similarly and they asked for similar amounts. And both Silver Key and Vita are applied for our AAA funding, so our Area Agency on Aging, there we go, funding, and they are going through that process right now. And then our schedule, so highlighted is right now. Before last week, I went to the TAC. Same thing, just review and recommendation for public comment. Next month, we'll go in for the board to be approved to release the public comment. Public comment will start on the 10th and it will close on January 10th. And then I will come again next month for the action and approval of the recipients' funding amounts, and then to the board, and it'll get final approval in January. I do have members of each agency, Invita and Silver Key, if there's any direct questions that they can answer. Is there any questions or comments right now?
Just one question. Did TAC have any special concerns, comments, or anything?
No special concerns. It was brought up as more of a comment as there is a more of a need for funding than what is available, but nothing, no direct questions or comments.
Okay. And the people you have available to answer questions, I'm guessing, are the two gentlemen in the back?
Yep, two gentlemen from Silver Key and then Sagan from Vita.
Oh, couldn't
Sorry,
see over there.
there's a poll in the way.
There's a poll. Okay. Yeah. If you have any comments, you're welcome to come forward.
Thank you for the opportunity to bring forward this application. For those of you who don't know, both online and in the room here, Silver Key uses the support of many volunteers to be able to make sure that the dollars that go through our system are activated to the best utilization of the resources. As was said in the comments, we have far more need in the community than we have the resources to serve. So in terms of Silver Key, one of the other key pieces that we do is partner effectively with other transit providers, Invita being one, and I don't know if there'll be a comment, but in a way that we were able to partner, we share a similar infrastructure in terms of scheduling and managing that way. So what you're demonstrating by supporting both organizations is that the two organizations partner well together. And I will share with you that a number of the individuals that Special Kids, Special Families serves are also served by our organization. So even though they had applied, we do have some resource that goes to those populations as well. Thank you. Great presentation.
Yeah, thank you for the information.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sagan Faulkner, and I'm the Outreach and Development Manager at Invita. I just wanted to thank you for allowing the opportunity for me to say something about our application. Like Jason said, at Silver Key, we do a really great job at collaborating with other organizations in our community. And something else about our request is with our federal funding, we do our best job to stretch federal dollars as far as possible. And we notated this in our application. Something that we do is we are strong partners with the Resource Exchange in our community. And we have the capacity to braid both federal and state funds, which allows us to stretch federal dollars further. So the federal dollars that we receive, they're not funding the full cost of the ride. We're able to use both state and federal funds. So again, just thank you so much for reviewing our application and again, giving me the opportunity to say something.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
Steve.
Yeah, so Lisa, has the PPACG thought about offering technical assistant workshops for applicants who score lower to help them strengthen future submissions?
Not formally. In my experience, that has not happened with the 5310s funding, but more, but it has been recommended to do it for special kids, special family going forward. I don't know if a workshop's the best term, but just supporting them and giving more knowledge and about the application and how they can score better. So I think that will be more or less what's going to happen in the future.
Okay. Then the last question I have is as part of the public comment process, are we looking into highlighting how these recommendations address service gaps identified in the specialized transit plan?
Yeah, so the public comment will just be comments from the public on the funding, and if they do address the service gaps, yes, I think the public comments are broadly open, so it's whatever that is deemed to be commented on. But in the nature of these services, they do address the gaps of the paratransit, because paratransit and fixed route have very strict rules, and these do open up services for the community.
Awesome. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. You're welcome. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. Anyone else online? Anyone in the room? Welling.
Yes, sir. Welling Clark, El Paso County. I want to compliment Lisa. She reached out to me to serve on both evaluation dates and work commitments. Thank you, U.S. Navy did not allow that to happen. However, I was able to see the documentation that was submitted by the different entities. It was extensive. Also, the write-ups for the submission were highly detailed. And she said, we haven't ever invited a CAC member, but would you like to attend? I said I would. I was unable to, but I really appreciate that. I just want you to know, and I see Andy sitting there, and let him know too. That's a comment. And I have a recommendation for the CAC and PPACG if found acceptable. I would recommend when any process like this comes out, make it available so all CAC members can go in and see how the sausage is made, for lack of a better term. Because I would really like to see how people weighted the data and the finances and the operations, because it was done by CDOT and a couple of other entities that were very well versed surrounding the whole thing. I think that'd be very educational for us to have a better understanding. Okay, over.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Seeing none, take a motion to recommend for release to the board.
Chuck Theobald, City of Colorado Springs, move to release this recommendation to the full board for approval.
Hey, thank you, Chet. And second?
Carrie Storm, Manitou Springs, second.
Hey, thank you. We've had a motion and a second. Any additional comment, questions? Hearing none, all in favor to recommend this? I'll say
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say aye. There aren't. Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you, everyone.
We didn't have any, so we're covered. I'm having an off day. And are you doing this one, Danelle?
I believe Josh Squires is online and he's going to introduce this and then pop it over to CDOT.
Okay. Okay, Josh.
Good afternoon, CAC, and thank you for your time today. Last month, CDOT Region 2 staff presented this item as an information-only update on the regional priority program funding within the PPACG region. The spreadsheet that is included in your packet, along with the memo, outlines the projects with the anticipated to be programmed with RPP funding through 2032, which is consistent with the 10-year plan. This month, the committee is being asked to take action to approve the regional priority program funding that is presented. This was approved by the TAC at their last meeting on November 20th. And with that, I'll turn it over to John Hall to answer any questions you'll have. Thank you.
I see John's mic's muted, so.
I'm on
There we
mute.
go.
Sorry about that. Good afternoon.
There we go.
Committee here. I am happy Thanksgiving, and I am happy to answer any questions. I'm happy to go in as much detail as you'd like. I'll focus first off on just giving you a big picture, a high elevation, if you will, 30,000 foot look. As you can see from this first memo in the packet, we had a little bit of increases in the funding of 26, 27. You can call that basically different various forms of project savings that'll come back in, and we're using that, applying that to a couple projects in the 130,000, doing some mobility kind of maintenance and mobility operations using a new IDIQ contract, and in 2027 it's just trying to fund, well, 2027 and beyond. What we're trying to do is make allocations that reflect the new 10-year plan that was passed there in the August cycle, right? The new updates to the 10-year plan. So that's what the big picture here is. We're trying to align our projects with that, projects that are no longer on are not going to come to fruition in that 10-year plan in this cycle aren't projects we should be putting priority funding to, right? So, Josh or Jared or somebody's advance the slide here for me to the actual memo. It's got, continuous numbering all the way through it. So I will just ask the chair, basically I'm happy to take questions, or if the desire is for me to go through it line by line, that's what I'll do.
Any comments online or questions? Otherwise, we'll keep it as brief as he needs to. I do have, go ahead, Welling.
Welling Clark, El Paso County. I just have one question. Jared, can you advance to page 128 of the PDF? There was a matrix there, and it cited U.S. Highway 24 3 times with different
So Welling, if I can interrupt,
valuation.
page 128 is a different agenda item.
That's a different one?
Yep.
Never mind. Disregard transmission out.
Okay. Okay, Steve.
Mr. Chair, the only thing I would like to say, I was glad to see net funding increases and no cuts. So John and Josh, thank you guys.
Agreed.
Yeah, and the region priority program. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, John, I
Well,
do
I
have
just
kind
have-
of an
I'm sorry.
off-topic question while Steve's there. Out in the Falcon area, Highway 24, so is all of that fully funded, or are we still waiting, or?
I'm not. So if you mean the project that's been on the 10-year plan, what's referred to as US 24 East widening, right?
Correct.
I wouldn't say that it's fully funded in the sense that the new 10-year plan needs to be approved with the 27 and beyond funding, FY 27 beyond funding. But you'll see some funding in this RPP program to match up in there. And as long as that 10-year program gets approved by the CDOT Transportation Commission, by the Colorado Transportation Commission, I should say, yes, it is a fully funded project, given that assumption.
Okay, understood. Sorry, Steve, I kind of stepped on you.
No, not at all, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to throw a compliment out there as far as seeing the net increases. So that was good news when I read it. Yeah.
Anyone else? And I'm not seeing any. So do we need a recommendation to move this to the board and take a motion to do so?
Welling Clark, El Paso County, motion to approve.
And do we have a second? Second to move this onto the board on Welling's motion.
Steve Schleicher, second.
Callahan.
Okay, Kathy, thank you. We've had a motion and a second. Any additional comments, questions? Little lag time with the online here, so apologize. But hearing no questions or comments, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed, say nay. And that's moved on. Thank you, John, for the presentation.
Yeah. If you'll indulge me, I have one other very important topic. I'd just like to say in this time of the season, at this time of year, to make sure to say, go Army, beat Air Force, beat Navy. Happy
Go
Thanksgiving.
Navy.
John, I now see why you did not show up to the meeting.
Would I be out of place if I said roll tide? Okay. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. I just want you to know I've been in the back trimming down my talking points as the meeting goes on. So got a little presentation, not super long, so it shouldn't be too bad. I'll just talk for a minute just to get us back in context. So safety action plan was an information item last month, and actually we're going sort of rapid fire now in the project because we've always had a little bit of a calendar crunch with this project, and we're actually coming into the home stretch now with lots of draft materials being produced and just a few months to go. As a refresher, this is a comprehensive regional traffic safety plan funded under the federal Safe Streets for All program. It's a substantially larger project than most of the other safety related projects we've done in the past in this region. It involves both a lot of analysis and also a robust stakeholder process. Project's been in progress for nearly a year, led by our FHU consultant team. Regionally, City of Colorado Springs and City of Fountain are each doing their own plans under the same program, and we've had coordination meetings with each of them. City of Woodland Park and PPACG have actually partnered to provide this type of plan for the rest of the Tri-County region, so we're sort of covering everybody else. So one of the things this project will do is make the listed member government projects eligible for funding under the SS4A program. So for that, we need to wrap up with board adoption no later than April 2026 in order to make sure our member governments can prepare their grant proposals before the June deadline for those submissions. So we want to wrap up in April so everybody can have their grant submissions ready by June. So the calendar is important for this project. There have been a lot of draft materials shared with you for today, so thank you to everyone who's had time to review them. For those who haven't, or anybody who's just curious or concerned and wants to know more, just because there's so much material, we'll be having a workshop for TAC and CAC members in December, where we'll be able to go into more detail and review these products more thoroughly. So and then more on that after the little presentation. And then we'll also come back with the full draft as an information item one more time in January before asking for a recommendation. So a lot of stuff, but we're trying to do everything we can to give an opportunity to review all of it. With that, I'll turn it over to our lead consultant, Gurov.
Good afternoon. Today's presentation, unlike some of the previous ones where we've gone through a lot of technical information and analysis and maps, I just wanted to run through our process so far and next steps. And as Jason mentioned, we're looking forward to the in-person workshop where we can go through the technical, so we can walk everybody through the technical process, answer any questions that have come up, because we've shared a lot of technical information, so it just makes sense to have that. However, today, we're just going to go through some of these larger agenda items. Next slide, please. So a quick touch-up, we've always started with a refresher of the process about the safe system approach and what it means, the objectives and principles, but not going to go through all that. But this is the important slide of reminding everyone that we did the analysis based on 3 sub areas based on terrain and urban, suburban, rural sort of division. And of course, Colorado Springs and Fountain have their own plans, so they're not part of this safety action plan. Next slide, please. Again, all the things that we've done, the process that we're doing in this safety action plan, the analysis that we're doing is tightly controlled or based on the requirements of the safety action plan grant. And these are the 7 requirements. I won't go through these, but at the core of this is the safety data analysis and the stakeholder and community engagement and input. So that, which is why we've been meeting with all the agencies in the area, having conversations with them, trying to understand what their needs and wants and goals are, of course, presenting to the CAC and the TAC over the several months. And then, of course, the goal is to develop a prioritized list of projects, which is a requirement of the SS4A grant program for implementation grants, from which each agency can pick a project that if they wish to pursue grants for, there'll be an existing framework in place for that. Next slide, please. A quick talking about, I'm just going to touch upon all the safety elements of the process that we followed as required. But I felt this was an important reminder that it is important to, as we've gone through each presentation, we've built upon the previous one with more information and more complexity, but that is because each previous steps informs the next one. And so it's sort of like a stepping stone in which we're able to build upon previous steps. The idea is that the CSAP supports a high-level planning as well as implementable projects. So implementation is a centerpiece of the grant program. The idea is developing tangible projects that will have an impact on killed and seriously injured crashes, improving safety on our transportation network. This includes project rankings and decision aids, but I think a good thing to mention here is that the prioritization, the project rankings, none of those are binding. The idea is to give a living document to all the agencies for future safety funding in whatever project makes sense to each agency. And one of the elements of choosing a project might be financial, because for the SS40 grant program, there is a 20% minimum match requirement. So an agency might choose a project out of the safety project list that meets their financial capabilities at the moment. So that's one of the other things to mention. And of course, we've done a database analysis of locations and come up with a list of prioritized locations. However, we've also been having conversations, and there are some projects that are outside the priority list. But our goal is to include such priorities in this safety action plan, as well, as long as they are, of course, safety focused. Next slide, please. So this is the larger process of the safety action plan, the core that I mentioned about the safety analysis. So it starts with the basic crash data analysis, development of a high injury network that we presented upon before. Alongside that is the high risk network. That was something I presented last time. The prioritization of top locations involves many elements, including the high injury network, the high risk network, and the level of service of safety analysis. And as I'm sure many of you have heard about level of service of safety, it's basically comparing a location's safety performance as compared to a typical location with similar geometry and similar traffic exposure, and seeing statistically whether the existing crash performance is higher or lower than what would be expected. So if it is significantly higher number of higher crash frequency, that means there's something that's not working right. If it's lower, that means a location is doing better than expected. So we bring all of these elements, including public comment and stakeholder input, into prioritization of top locations, which is the safety list that I mentioned in the previous slide. The next step is, of course, what do we do at these locations? How do you improve safety? We have identified crashes, crash patterns, hotspots. The next part is countermeasure pairing, and countermeasure is, of course, a safety intervention. It could be design, it could be policy, it could be process, it could be education, enforcement. A lot of it is, of course, around the safe system approach. So the countermeasure pairing means identifying multiple countermeasures for each location that would have a positive safety impact. One of the central tenets of the safe system approach and safety in general is that safety countermeasures should be redundant. Redundancy is crucial. So it's not just one countermeasure. You apply one countermeasure on top of another and apply multiple countermeasures to mitigate the safety concerns. And then, of course, the last ones are also implementation of strategy and policy. So we also are looking at policies and policy recommendations that would aid in the overall improvement of safety. Next slide, please. So touching upon the high injury network, the idea is to develop a network of high crash locations in segments and intersections for the whole region, so that it's sort of like a network level analysis of safety performance in order to identify locations of priority locations. So this is a map that we've shared before. And the way we developed is that we've looked at segments separately from intersections. And of course, each sub area, the mountainous, the suburban, urban, and the eastern rural, were all looked at separately. So one would not overshadow the other. So each of them came up with their own segments and intersections of concerns that constituted the high injury network. The next slide is about the high risk network. And as I mentioned previously, and of course in a lot of the materials that we've submitted, the high risk network is about proactive safety. So far when we do crash analysis, which is extremely important, and even the level of service of safety analysis, those are all based on crashes that have already occurred. And it's a statistical analysis, and you come up with areas of concern. However, the high risk network looks to identify locations that are, as the name suggests, that are at risk for crashes. So we don't want to wait for crashes to occur before we have a safety intervention. So as part of this process, we identify risks in risk factors, and these causal factors are then assigned to the network, and we find where all those risk factors exist, and then we identify those on the high risk network. For example, if there are a lot of overturning crashes and we see a lot of overlay on sharp curves in mountainous areas, we might identify all locations with sharp curves as a high risk location where perhaps guardrails would be a good intervention without having to wait for an overturning crash. That's just an example. Next slide, please. So again, I think I touched upon this. The idea is, of course, if a certain crash pattern is statistically higher or statistically significantly higher than what would be expected, it has a level of services safety above what is expected, which means interventions would improve safety. So this is, of course, one of the cornerstones of safety analysis. Next slide. So of course, and then the prioritization of top locations, like I said before, this is a requirement of the SS4A grant program. They do want us to develop a prioritized list of locations. And like I said earlier, you can pick projects from this prioritized list in any order that works for each agency. But the idea is the prioritization is a scientific data-driven process that takes into consideration which is the weighted scores, which is weighted crash severity index that we presented on before, which in summary gives higher weight to higher severity. So we give so if a location has 1 fatal and 1 seriously injured crashes and 1 property damage only crash, the fatal is given a weight of 11, the seriously injured crash is given a weight of 5, and the PDO is given a weight of 0. So you would have a score of 16 for that location, for example. So so we develop such weighted scores, and of course the reason for giving higher weights to higher severities is because the SS4A programs core tenet is to significantly reduce or eliminate killed and seriously injured crashes. So the KSI crashes are our focus. So hence the weighted severity score index. The LOSS also comes into play. So locations, this is specifically for intersections. So intersections, the higher LOSS, 3 or 4, which means there is a safety issue, statistically valid safety issue, they have a higher score. If a location is on the high risk network, it has a certain score. And then the last is the community and stakeholder input. Those are assigned a score too. So in the end, each location based on these factors is given a sum total of a score. And then the locations that have been identified as having safety issues through the high injury network are prioritized based on this score. And again, of course, these scores are, of course, we've presented upon them before. And this is again to meet the needs of the grant requirements. Next slide, please. The countermeasure pairing. So the ones that we have used here are as part of the countermeasure pairing. You might have received. We have developed a elaborate spreadsheet with each location identifying crashes that are overrepresented, et cetera, and then assigning a slew of countermeasures to it. A lot of these countermeasures are from the FHWA proven countermeasures list, in which FHWA has done significant research and come up with crash modification factors, which is basically assigning a percentage reduction of crashes. So if there is the crash reduction is represented by the percentage. Basically, if a CMF of 0.8 occurs, if you do a certain countermeasure, that means only a 20% reduction in crashes will occur based on that countermeasure. So we apply these CMFs to come up with an estimate of effectiveness of countermeasures for a certain kind of crash type. So that is the countermeasure pairing that we've shared as part of our materials before. And finally, of course, the strategy and policy recommendations. Here it is, like it says, the purpose is to provide policy recommendations that support safety projects for advancement, funding, and implementation beyond the design and some of those other enforcement education interventions. The idea being, of course, basically working on improving safety from multiple angles and not being focused just on design or just on one other element, but applying as many facets of safety improvements as we can. Hence the regional comprehensive safety action plan. So it's comprehensive not only from a regional perspective, but also from the countermeasures and the different kinds of countermeasures that we apply to improve safety. Next slide, please. So just on the next steps, as you can see, we are at this point, we are pretty much towards the last step of implementation, strategy, policy recommendations. We've also developed cost estimates for each countermeasure that is applicable. And those cost estimates have been developed for at a very planning level cost estimate to provide agencies with some information on how much a certain countermeasure might cost them. So educated decisions on future projects can be made. But right now we are now moving into developing the draft comprehensive safety action plan itself, as Jason mentioned, that needs to be approved and adopted before the implementation, the NOFO comes out for the next grant program for the implementation grants. So that's pretty much what our next step is. Just wanted to mention once again the workshop that Jason had alluded to earlier in December. The idea there is, going through all where we want to do an in-person workshop where I, along with my teammates, can answer any questions related to the process that we've been presenting through the year, and make sure that everybody's comfortable with it, and answer any questions, technical details, which are hard to cover in a 15-minute presentation, so to speak. But with that, if there are any questions, happy to answer them.
Not seeing any online. Welling?
Yes, Welling Clark, El Paso County. First of all, I'd like to compliment this study. It's very professionally done and good detail. And when I followed the numbers and the values and everything connected. So well done on that. I believe it was a matrix on page 128 of the PDF. Yes, and it's a clarity issue I would have is when I'm looking at this, I see U.S. Highway 24 mentioned 3 times, is given different ratings. Is it possible to break out and identify what sections of Highway 24 those are? Because it might be east, west,
Yes.
mountains. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
It's vague, and that's the only thing I saw. So my compliments to your study. Okay, over.
Yes, that would be confusing, wouldn't it? Yes, we will clarify that for sure. Yes.
Jason, for the meeting that you're going to have, will you make that available to Danelle to send out to everyone?
Yes, definitely. And I was going to ask the group real quick. Is there anybody who's fairly sure at this moment that they'd be interested in attending that, just to get an indication of interest? And okay, so okay, yeah, Welling's interested. Okay, great. I'm glad. Okay, perfect. And then we'll send it out to everybody, but I just kind of wanted to get a feel for the interest. And then I was just going to make the remark real quickly that if this seems like a lot, that's because it genuinely is a whole new level of safety analysis and planning in the region like we've never seen. So a lot of resources have gone into it. I think it'll be a great tool, even though it's not really binding on anybody. Be a great resource for the region.
Information's always great.
Yeah, and it'll be excellent support for any kind of outside safety related road grant that anybody wants to pursue, because they'll have all the data and the support in place for it ahead of time.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, just a comment, Welling Clark, El Paso County. This type of study is what the U.S. Navy does when we evaluate a type of a ship that we need to have in the future. And we do all this breakdown, not necessarily with safety, but with systems effectiveness and other things. So this is a very well done study. Over.
Anyone online have a question or comment? Okay.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you, Jay.
Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Okay. We're out of action items for a while, huh? Okay. You have anything to know?
For the member entity announcements, I just wanted to let everyone know of a couple of items that we know will be coming to the December meeting. We anticipate having a presentation on the regional freight plan, the approval of that 5310 recommendation funding coming back next month. We will also talk about the annual safety performance measures that CDOT sets. I'm not 100% sure that CDOT will be able to attend, but we will present that if CDOT is unable to. That'll be an information item with action in January. And then also one more item that we need to address in December will be our TAC officers for 2026. At TAC, it was suggested that we go ahead and email the group and see if we had volunteers to take some of those roles. If that would be helpful for the CAC as well, I can go ahead and do that. And then folks at least have a list of interested parties to work from if that works for you.
Any comments online or questions to Danelle? Kathy?
As far as the leadership for next year, I feel like we've got a couple of fairly new people in those positions in vice and second for this year, and I would love to see the current team go for another year and kind of solidify and train some people up on how these meetings run. I think it would give us some continuity. So I'm not sure. I'm in favor of really opening to take volunteers unless someone else feels strongly that we need to do that.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, Danelle, I think that's our
Okay. Thank
one
you
and
so
only
much.
comment.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Any
Yeah,
other
happy
questions for
Thanksgiving.
Danelle? Okay. Jared, do you have anything?
I don't. Unless there's anyone else online. Looks like Tyler's coming offline.
Okay, the only question I have is for next month's meeting. Is that virtual or have we got a determination at this point?
We did determine that the majority of poll respondents did prefer leaving the meeting at its normally scheduled time. So that'll be December 31st at 3 o'clock. We have not discussed with staff yet if that will be hybrid or virtual. We kind of decided to go hybrid this time because we were going to be in the building anyway. But I'll let folks know if we do decide to move it full virtual.
Okay. Well, I think this month it was Welling and I in the building and everyone else online. So it's whatever works. Okay. Anyone else? Any other comments? Hearing none, meeting's adjourned then.